There wasn't much to do today than just watch price action fall. It's not always going to give us the exact setup that we want, especially any time during the day, but sometimes it just never really presents, but that's very, very rare. That doesn't mean you can't make money. I made a very small amount, scalping it at the bottom, which we'll take a look at. But again, this isn't the optimal day where I'm trying to maximize gains because price action is just not lining up for it compared to the other 2 days we had prior, where I hit my full risk, I hit my one and done trade, I make 900 and 900. Now, $240 is better than zero. It's better than red. Sure, it'd be great to make another 900, but the conditions weren't the same trend. They weren't off of my key level. So how can I expect to just cookie cutter make the same amount every single day, no matter what the charts look like? So let's take a look here at the open here on ES. This is just one of those drifting days where, my God, just give me a pullback and then I'll sell it, right? Anyone on this day could have, doesn't mean they should have, but they could have just sold it and made money while this knife was falling. Now, normally I don't want to be doing that because my luck, when I decide to finally sell it, that's when it's ready to pull back and give me the other shorts. But regardless, the first sign to try to sell it today would be a break below New York VWAP. I'm telling you that sellers are taking back control. So it could either be this take of New York there. This one's a little bit low and it's at the 10 o'clock news, so that's kind of tough to take. Obviously, hindsight bias tells you that's a great one to sell because it's the start of a big down move. But ideally, probably be the first take of New York, stop loss at high a day, giving yourself 10 points because the good thing about this one, right, I like to say it's like falling off the sidewalk of, well, if it makes a new high a day, you pretty quickly know you don't want to be short anymore. So you're probably not going to be early on this wanting to fall. You're probably just going to be right or wrong. I wasn't looking for shorts at that time, but again, heading into this setup, some people were actually looking for longs. Now, I talk about it all the time on ASFX TV and on the Futures 2.0 course here in the VWAP strategy of how I don't want to chase the first break of open range high. Often doesn't run very far, if at all. So being that this is the first break open range high, okay, maybe I'm getting interested in longs. We'll take a look at the 15-minute in just a second. And we get a pullback close to New York. We're trying to break outside that open range high again, and we just can't extend. Trend obviously shifted back down to the downside. But let's take a look at this 15-minute here. Because coming into the open, I would have preferred to find longs today just with the way we had a clean bullish day on Monday to start the week. We're kind of continuing it overnight, not really too strongly. That really, we're just moving sideways. If anything, we're creating this little funnel, whatever that means to you. But really, we're opening up with a flat overnight VWAP, same price action of where we changed over on the day. So nothing really too exciting. So if, I said if on stream, we could get some closures up here into the 75s, then this would look like the higher lows. Let's go make the higher high. But notice how on the 1 minute that bounce off of New York VWAP, I could pull them both up here. This bounce off of New York here and the break below New York, what I just drew there, notice how that candle right here is actually closing underneath that daily VWAP. So I don't really want to be longing it here when we're right at that VWAP and actually rejecting it underneath. So now looking back at it, you can clearly see that's pretty good selling sentiment that buyers couldn't take that overnight. And it was just all sellers from there. So it was good not to jump into the longs because, yes, we may be above this 1 minute New York, but we're having a hard time getting above this overnight. So if we could get a bullish closure above it, I will look for the next candle to also be bullish and try to long it from there, right? But being that we couldn't break above that VWAP, I'm holding off on the longs. Then news comes in, sends it super, super bearish. And again, like I said, if you just sold it, you made money, but doesn't mean it was a great setup. It was an obvious trend, but who knew this type of momentum? I actually want to go to the micros here to show you the small amount of money I made today. Now, it's not this trade. This one's actually not too bad. It's very tough to try to fight the New York VWAP, right? So we have this clear bottom down here that sellers definitely took a break since falling there, and then they couldn't break this low a day VWAP and send it for a new low a day. Lack of continuation. And even prior to that, you could look at all these attempts at taking the low a day. Sellers just can't take this low a day VWAP, but then they finally do, but quickly right back up. So seeing this kind of double bottom down here, trend has definitely stalled. The long on a break back above low a day VWAP, and again, kind of like I'm saying, you're falling off the sidewalk if this loses. If it breaks for a new low a day back here, you don't want to be long anymore. You quickly found out you're on the wrong side of things. Maybe you could pivot to the shorts because you'd also believe, yeah, this probably wants to move lower because look at what price action is doing today, lower highs and lower lows. But it's a nice level to try to buy it off of, especially when I bring up this 15-minute. If I just rewind it here and look at it like this, of what it looked like at that time, does this look like the best place to sell it? Or does it look like there's kind of a floor forming down there with all these wicks, sellers keep bouncing us back higher because buyers are trying to step in, that it is a reasonable place to want to long it? Now, it's tough to fight the VWAPs, of course, but if someone did long it down here, I wouldn't blame them because it's not the worst setup I've ever seen. Now let's go over here to my setup. I did it way earlier, way back here for a very, very cheap long. You can notice at the time of day is, no, it wasn't this one, was it? It was 10:55, so I think it was actually even over here. Whatever it was, I actually should have the markup, but maybe I don't. Scrambling over here. But it was a start of a new 15-minute candle starting back bullish. So yes, it was over here at 11 o'clock saying this is the last bearish bar because, again, I talked about it, I think, in last week's video. Look at the sentiment starting to change. Sellers are finally showing some weakness, right? Where before that, if you ever want to buy a falling knife, first suggestion would be just don't do it. You're going to take a lot of paper cuts that way, and very rarely will you ever call the bottom. But notice how if you're just trying to hope it bounces there and finally pull back, or hope it pulls back there, or hope it pulls back there, that's just random and wanting it to. Because if you look on the 15-minute, it's just a falling knife of solid bearish sentiment, solid sellers. What is giving you the hint that we're going to bounce here? Now, when I could see the 15-minute actually start to slow here, like this 15-minute candle closure finally not being bearish, and buyers actually stepping at the end of it, leaving a wick to the downside, okay, maybe that's the first sign that sellers showed their hand that they're kind of weakening. Buyers stepped in there a little bit. So now at the start of this next candle, yes, it was at 11 o'clock. Let me try to buy it here. So this was my long because it was 11:01. Because once the 15-minute flipped, the next candle starts, I'm just scalping it very high. So I didn't even get in the full move. You can see the stop loss at low a day. I had a 1 hour target, whatever you want to call it. I got out right there because the quicker it moves up. And a small little counter trend move, I trailed the stop loss very tightly. You're fighting New York VWAP. You're fighting all this momentum. Probably shouldn't even be in the trade, but I wanted to play out the idea because of that 15-minute, like I'm saying. So I got like $80 per account on that. So that's why it's like $240. Because, I mean, it was looking nice. It was like, oh, yeah, that 15-minute flipped. Here we go. But it doesn't have to get all the way back to New York, right? It could be very easy to want to see that full idea through and call the full, not even reversal, but the full bounce. And if it wanted to, I would have tried to hold through it. But I was trailing stops aggressively in case it did turn back down, knowing that I am fighting the New York view up, that if we rewind it here, at any moment, it could form a lower high, sellers step back in, and we move back down. So I don't want to be too greedy and hold too long on these longs when I'm fighting everything. But there is money to be made on maybe a quick scalp, trading the pullback rather than normally I'm trading the continuation, right? So that was that setup. Made like $80, like I was saying. Trailed it very quickly. That this one, later on, once you see the more buyers holding in, this was the better follow-through one, I guess you'd say, the full retest to New York. I tried that idea back here. Same price. Just the timing was a little bit early. But either trade, they're pretty tough to want to take. But after that, very, very rangy day. It's almost like the market uses all the gas in its gas tank in this first hour. That I don't like these opens because it's just drifting. I can't get in without a pullback, as well as it kind of screws the rest of the afternoon of, well, now we're out of gas. Now we're just in this giant range, not really going anywhere. So it's kind of a double-edged sword of two reasons why I don't like it. But how could you have made money in it? Well, there was a retest to New York here that maybe you could play the bounce because you definitely want to be a seller today. That the bounce off of New York, you can scalp that down real quick. 2, level to level. If we're playing the bounce play off of New York with the stop loss above, 10 points, you get 11 points to that lower day view up, right? But rather than hope and predict that it does break and sellers have the strength to move us lower, just scalp it down to the next view up. Get your 1R, get out. You could always get back in later, right? The worst thing would be in a short around the New York, see it reject this lower day and stop you out for nothing. Or worst case, stop you out for a loss up here. So trade it level to level. And another thing is to not get induced on the longs up here because you see all these higher highs and higher lows on the short term. We're back above New York view up. We're going to move back higher. If I pull up the 15-minute again, where do you think this pullback is going to? Well, not the New York view up, but the overnight. So it smacks the overnight view up, creates the lower high, comes back down in the direction of trend. So hopefully no one got induced into the longs up there or chased them up there, even though maybe you could have made some money if you longed it around that New York, right? But you don't want to be chasing it up there at the overnight view up, which is why I love to watch that 15-minute to know where we are. So maybe you shorted it down there, or up there, I should say, off the overnight. But again, that's tough above the New York view up. I don't really love that. So maybe you wait for it to get below New York, and same thing. You're trading it level to level. You get out at this low of day VWAP that couldn't be broken. So there's not really too many amazing moves, textbook setups. But if you just use these two simple VWAPs, this New York, I'd even say the low a day, and that 15-minute overnight, you could definitely make money in these moves. So although it wasn't the most exciting day, I didn't make a lot of money. Small green is better than small red and big red. So we show up again tomorrow. Hopefully we have a little bit more clean of trend. But that's how I read the 15 minutes, to try to get me a gauge on when trend might be slowing, when it's ready to pick up as well, right? You could even look at it this way: of this clear rejection of the overnight, that's a strong candle. So the trending is starting to step back in. Could be a great time to sell it. Same with that strong candle off the overnight. Pretty telling that sellers are stepping in, and with some speed and some strength. So maybe I want to get involved in this trend now. But when trend is telling me these pins down there are struggling to really move us lower, it's a pretty weak bearish trend, or it's weakening, let me not get involved in the shorts now. And you could always start to playbook longs like that, or just pause on the shorts. So I appreciate you guys tuning in as always. Make sure you leave a like, drop a comment of what videos you guys want to see next. Check out the streams every morning, because we had the streams today. I didn't take any of the shorts just because it was falling without me. But as always, we're always finding trades together on stream. You can start a free trial, get access to the course as well. So check out the top one sale as well, because that one's ending soon. But code Evan's always going to get you the best deal. So I appreciate you guys. I'll see you on the charts tomorrow morning.